A truck approaches a toll booth where several workers, dressed in hazmat suits, are busy sanitizing the area. As the truck driver pulls up, he complains about the delay, accusing them of holding him up. One of the workers calmly explains that everything is fine, and that the area is simply being disinfected due to a minor leak at a nearby nuclear plant. As the driver continues on, his phone rings, distracting him long enough for him to accidentally run over a doe. He stops to check, but after a brief inspection, he gets back in his truck and drives away. To his surprise, the doe stirs, shakily gets to its feet, and turns, revealing that it's been infected. In Seoul, Seok-woo, a busy fund manager, struggles to balance his hectic career with spending time with his daughter Soo-an, let alone dealing with his impending divorce. After a long and stressful day at work, he mistakenly buys Soo-an the same birthday gift he gave her the previous year. Soo-an, disappointed, confides in him that she wants to visit her mother in Busan. Seok-woo hesitates, citing work commitments, but his mother shows him a video of Soo-an performing Aloha Oe at a school recital, a performance he missed because of his work. Overcome with guilt, Seok-woo decides to book tickets for the next KTX train to Busan, planning to leave the following morning. Early the next morning, Seok-woo drives Soo-an to the station, but their journey is interrupted when they nearly crash into a convoy of ambulances and police cars speeding in the opposite direction. Seok-woo wonders aloud what could be happening, while Soo-an reaches out the car window and catches an ember in her hand. As Seok-woo turns to look, he notices a building in the distance engulfed in flames. He mutters that something bad is happening, but pushes the thought aside and continues driving to the station. Upon arriving, they board the KTX train, where they join a diverse group of passengers: Sang-hwa, a tough working-class man, and his pregnant wife Seong-kyung, a high school baseball team, Yeon-suk, a wealthy and self-centered CEO, two elderly sisters, In-gil and Jong-gil, and a homeless man who appears to be aware of the unfolding crisis. As the train is about to depart, a young woman boards, her body convulsing violently, with a massive bite wound on her leg. Outside the train, the station manager signals for the KTX to leave, but his attention is drawn to a group of people at the top of the stairs, screaming at something unseen. Soo-an watches through the window as the manager is suddenly ambushed by a rabid infected person, an event she alone witnesses. Terrified, Soo-an quickly gets up and heads for the bathroom. Meanwhile, in one of the lower-numbered cars, a train attendant encounters the infected woman. She attempts to resuscitate her, but the woman's transformation is complete. The now zombified woman latches onto the attendant's neck, and in a panic, the attendant runs into the baseball team's car. Both she and the infected woman collapse to the floor, now fully turned. The two zombies go on a violent rampage, attacking most of the baseball team and turning them into zombies in the process. Only 4 students manage to escape: baseball player Yong-guk, his crush Jin-hee, and 2 other boys. The zombies surge toward the upper compartments, infecting anyone who crosses their path. Unaware of the danger, Soo-an walks toward the lower cars in search of a bathroom. Meanwhile, Seok-woo wakes up and notices that Soo-an is missing from her seat. Just as he begins to worry, his phone rings and a coworker informs him of violent riots breaking out across Korea. A moment later, a frantic group of passengers from the lower cars rushes past him, screaming in terror. Realizing that Soo-an might be in danger, Seok-woo bolts in the opposite direction and spots her standing right in front of an approaching horde of zombies. He quickly grabs her and they race towards safety, but the zombies are hot on their heels. They manage to reach their compartment, and Seok-woo desperately tries to barricade the door, nearly trapping Sang-hwa and Seong-kyung outside. The survivors scramble to fortify the door, but soon realize that the zombies are only attacking because they can see humans. They don't know how to open doors. Seong-kyung comes up with a solution. She uses water and newspapers to cover the windows. This simple trick convinces the zombies that no one is inside, giving the survivors a brief respite. The conductor's voice comes over the intercom, assuring the survivors that the train will not continue to Busan, but will instead stop at Daegu Station, as the military has been dispatched there. Yeon-suk, desperate for information, calls his company contacts and inquires about the situation in Daegu. Seok-woo overhears the conversation and quickly deduces that all arriving passengers will be forcibly quarantined at Daegu. In a panic, he calls a co-worker privately, convincing him to pick up him and Soo-an separately, hoping to avoid quarantine. When the train finally arrives at the abandoned Daegu station, Seok-woo takes Soo-an toward the east exit, where he arranged to be picked up while the others head toward the main exit. The homeless man, who overheard Seok-woo's call, follows them. As the three move down a dimly lit hallway, they spot a soldier in the distance. Seok-woo, feeling a moment of hope, tells Soo-an to stay put while he rushes toward the soldier for help. But when he gets closer, he realizes the soldier is badly injured. The soldier pleads for help before a horde of infected soldiers appears, rushing toward them, trampling the wounded soldier and tearing him apart in a brutal frenzy. Seok-woo and Soo-an freeze, horrified by the sight. The remaining survivors emerge from the station's main exit, only to be greeted by a horrifying sight at the bottom of the escalator: a large group of uniformed men, who are all infected. The military deployment has failed. As panic sets in, several passengers are quickly overrun and devoured by the zombies, and others scramble to escape, rushing back up the escalator and into the station. Seok-woo, still inside the station, faces a horde of zombies and quickly tells Soo-an to run. She takes off, colliding with Seong-kyung and Sang-hwa, who are rushing back to the train with the others. Seong-kyung grabs Soo-an and pushes her toward the platform, while Sang-hwa stays behind, fighting off the zombies with Seok-woo, Yong-guk, and the two other baseball players. Together they manage to lock the exit door, but the threat isn't over. They run toward the train as quickly as they can. Yong-guk's two friends are not so lucky. They are attacked and infected just as they reach the platform. Meanwhile, Jin-hee, Yeon-suk, and a few other survivors have successfully made it onto the train. Seong-kyung and Soo-an are also about to board, when a glass bridge overhead shatters, sending a shower of zombies crashing down onto the platform. One zombie lands between the elderly sisters, In-gil and Yong-gil, and they are separated in the chaos. Jong-gil is dragged forcibly onto the train, and Jin-hee watches in helpless horror. Meanwhile, Yong-guk, Seok-woo, and Sang-hwa reach a safer compartment, only to discover that Sang-hwa's wife, Seong-kyung, is trapped in another bathroom with a few others. Determined not to leave them behind, the three men push through the infected compartments, fighting their way through. Along the way, they realize the zombies are blind in the dark and only react to sound, which gives them a chance to move stealthily. Using this newfound advantage, they manage to rescue Seong-kyung and the others. Together, they make a dash toward the first compartment, where Yeon-suk, Jin-hee, Jong-gil, and the train manager are hiding. Yong-guk texts Jin-hee to let her know they've rescued the others and are on their way to her compartment. When Jin-hee excitedly shares the news with the group, their reaction is cold and hostile. Fearing that the new arrivals could bring more danger, they lock the door to the compartment, refusing to let the group inside. In response, Yong-guk tries desperately to break the door open, but Seok-woo and Sang-hwa are preoccupied with holding back the zombies trying to breach from the other side. Time is running out, and as the situation grows dire, Sang-hwa makes a heartbreaking decision. He tells Seok-woo to take care of his wife and leave him behind, so he can stay and fight off the zombies. Tearfully, Seok-woo releases his grip on the door and pulls Soo-an and Seong-kyung away. Before being overwhelmed, Sang-hwa's final words are to his wife, telling her the name he had chosen for their unborn son. It is a bittersweet farewell as he sacrifices himself for the others, ensuring their survival as he faces the inevitable. The survivors manage to break down the locked door and rush into the compartment, only to find themselves trapped with one last door that they quickly close. Unfortunately, In-gil is too slow to escape and is devoured by the zombies before the door can be secured. The group, now safe inside, is left to face the painful realization that Seong-hwa and In-gil could have survived if the initial group hadn't locked them out. In a burst of rage and guilt, Seok-woo punches Yeon-suk and demands an explanation for the brutal decision to barricade the door. Yeon-suk, refusing to take responsibility, lies to the others and accuses Seok-woo and his group of being infected, sowing fear among the remaining survivors. The group that originally barricaded the door turns on Seok-woo, pushing him, Jin-hee, and the others into the narrow hallway between their compartment and the conductor's car. Once they're forced out, Yeon-suk and the others use their neckties and shirts to secure the door, ensuring that the group can't return. Jong-gil, who has been silently reeling from the loss of her sister, finally speaks up when she notices In-gil's face among the zombies pressing up against the window. In a moment of heartbreaking clarity, she whispers to her infected sister, telling her that she lived a long and fulfilling life. Jong-gil realizes that the actions of the compartment group led directly to In-gil's death. Consumed by anger and grief, she opens the door, unleashing the horde of zombies into the compartment. The survivors in the hallway watch helplessly as the infected flood the compartment, and they hear the frantic screams and desperate clawing from the passengers inside. In a cruel twist of fate, the survivors can only witness the horrific carnage as the zombies tear through the last remaining group of people, their shadows visible through the glass as the door they just barricaded proves to be futile. The conductor receives a radio transmission confirming that Busan has managed to hold off the zombie infection, offering a brief moment of hope to the survivors on board. However, their relief is short-lived as the train is suddenly stopped by a pile of debris blocking the tracks. The conductor, in a calm but grim voice, makes an announcement over the speaker, informing the passengers that he will attempt to find another train on an unblocked route to Busan. He advises them to follow him and warns that they will have to exit the train and navigate through the dangerous, zombie-infested tracks. With a final wish of luck, he exits the cockpit, determined to find a way forward. After disembarking, the conductor searches for an alternative path and, to his relief, discovers an abandoned cargo train. He begins the engine and sets off, driving down the track toward Busan, scanning the surrounding area for any survivors who may be stranded or in need of help. Suddenly, a runaway burning freight car races toward them, crashing into nearby trains and blocking their path. Seok-woo's group is forced to find another way through and enters a train car, unaware that Yeon-suk is following them, still pursued by a zombie. In a cruel twist, Yeon-suk enters the car and pushes Jin-hee aside, throwing her to the zombie in a moment of cold betrayal. Young-guk, horrified, fights off the zombie, but not before it bites into Jin-hee, and she collapses into his arms, spasming and choking. As she fully turns, consuming his face and throat, Young-guk can only cry, apologizing for never confessing his feelings to her. Yeon-suk, undeterred, manages to pry open the door and runs toward the cargo train, but his escape is short-lived. He twists his ankle on the tracks, and one of the zombies chasing him manages to bite his ankle. The conductor, rushing to help, is met with a shocking betrayal. Yeon-suk, in a desperate act to secure his own survival, pushes the conductor toward the zombies, leaving him to die as he boards the cargo train alone, abandoning any pretense of humanity in his quest for self-preservation. As Seok-woo, Seong-kyung, Soo-an, and the homeless man find themselves trapped on the other side of the wreckage, surrounded by zombies, the situation grows dire. The train above them is teetering dangerously, and the windows threaten to break at any moment. Seok-woo spots an opening under the train and attempts to climb through it, hoping to get to safety. However, before the others can follow, a section of the train collapses, sealing the hole shut. The impact shatters a window, and a small group of zombies tumble out, crawling toward the group. In a selfless act, the homeless man sacrifices himself to the zombies, buying enough time for Seok-woo to clear the debris and for Seong-kyung and Soo-an to escape. They sprint toward the cargo train and climb onto its outdoor platform, desperate for safety. Seok-woo approaches the cockpit, but when he sees Yeon-suk sitting in the conductor's seat, now milky-eyed and infected, he hesitates. At first, Seok-woo tries to shut the door, but Yeon-suk, despite being a zombie, is still able to open it, his infection not yet fully affecting his brain. Yeon-suk, in a moment of clarity, approaches Seok-woo and pleads with him, begging to be taken home to Busan. His voice trembles, and he recites his address and the name of his mother, as if he were still a child. Seok-woo, with tears in his eyes, tells Yeon-suk that he's infected. But for a brief moment, Yeon-suk seems shocked and begins to weep. However, within seconds, his transformation is complete, and he fully turns into a zombie. Seok-woo begins to struggle with the zombified Yeon-suk and nearly falls off the ledge of the car. Soo-an screams on the other side of the car platform, which attracts Yeon-suk, and he attempts to attack Seong-kyung and Soo-an. However, Seok-woo intervenes, and his hand is severely bitten. He manages to throw Yeon-suk off the car, but notices his injury. Aware that he will turn very soon, he seats Soo-an and Seong-kyung in the cockpit and tells them how to use the brakes once they get to Busan station. He then tries to leave the car, but Soo-an begs him to stay and reveals that on the day of her recital, she did not finish singing Aloha-o because she didn't see Seok-woo in the audience. She had been saving the song for her father. The two have a tearful farewell, and Seok-woo holds Soo-an's small hands in his for a moment, before throwing them aside and locking himself out of the cockpit. Soo-an begins to scream and cry for him to come back. As the infection spreads, Seok-woo sobs as he walks towards the end of the train car, clutching his bloody hand. Soo-an continues to cry for him inside the cockpit. As Seong-kyung tries to hold her back, he slowly approaches the back of the train car, fighting the infection, and begins thinking of when Soo-an was an infant, recalling his happiest memories of cradling her and holding her small fingers and toes. As he did in the cockpit before, the infection takes hold, his eyes going white and veins going dark. However, in spite of being fully zombified, Seok-woo continues thinking of Soo-an, and he smiles happily towards the sky before falling off the car and onto the tracks. The train car finally arrives at the tunnel leading to Busan station. However, the track is blocked off with debris. The two exit the car and begin walking down the tunnel, not aware that they are being watched on the other side by the Busan military. One of the snipers reports their approach to his superior and is told to shoot them down, as they cannot tell in the dark whether they are infected or not. Just as the sniper is about to pull the trigger, Soo-an begins to mournfully sing Aloha-o to rally the exhausted Seong-kyung to walk to the end of the tunnel. Hearing her song, the soldiers realize they are not infected and rush to their aid.